for now then the newest member of the executive management team, Annette Kumlien, to talk about the operations. Annette.
So thank you very much, Emily. Yes, I am the rookie in the team, and I am the rookie in this market as well. I am Annette Kumlien. I worked 5 months now for Intrum. Prior to that, I have worked in everything from steel to healthcare. And you might ask yourself, what is common about that? Well, all of my companies, they have sold on content what's in the offering. And that creates a culture how you run innovation, both from a continuous improvement perspective, but also learning how to jump the curve and not making sure that that is not competing with each other. This is important. So when it comes to Intrum then, I am on my exploratory journey. But looking at what we're doing, as Andrew says as well, our offering is really making sure that our customers are becoming debt-free. Now, what does it mean to be in debt? And what does it mean to become debt-free? Let's look at one of the customers we have.
Jeg har jobbet som politimann. Jeg har vært i utenlandstjeneste for Norge som geværfører i Libanon. Så var jeg ganske kort tid etter i Kosovo som spesialpoliti, som jeg kanskje håndterte litt dårlig når jeg kom hjem, fordi at ting ble veldig kjedelig, og jeg trengte mer. Og det endte faktisk i en sterk kokainavhengighet, som kjørte inn i en spiral der jeg mistet jobben, ble fradømt retten til å være politimann. Så begynte jeg å ikke bry meg om å betale regninger, og alt bare dreide seg om festen. Ja. Og da endte jeg til slutt med nesten 6 millioner i gjeld. Usikkert gjeld. Det å ta tak i en sånn type problemstilling, det er i utgangspunktet uoverkommelig. Og folk snakker om sånn bærepose med brev. Jeg tror jeg snakker om 2 søppelsekker. Sånn som Intrum framstår nå, så vil jeg si ta kontakt med Intrum. Muligheten for å få kontakt kjapt, det er dødsviktig. For det første så tar ikke det så lang tid før dere svarer. Og så viste det seg jo at dere har jo blant annet laget en sånn nettside som er fryktelig enkel å gå inn på. Det var veldig forløsende, fordi at jeg fikk oversikt. Alle søppelsekkene ble redusert til noen få punkter på internett. Og det var det som måtte til for at vi skulle kunne ta et lån. Jeg fikk jo nesten halvert den gjelden som gjensto. Greien er at siste samtale med dere, det var en veldig emosjonell ting. Jeg satt der inne og fikk den telefonen. Jeg begynte å grine, fordi det var så forløsende. Fordi at jeg forstod at når hun ringte til meg og sa det, så forstod jeg at da var jeg ferdig. Faktisk.
Big words leading our way to a sound economy, but it's these people that we're talking about and that we are working with. So all the numbers that you have heard, all the numbers that you see, I mean 35 million cases, 130 million customer interactions, 41 call centers, where 5 of them are global, 6,000 people in operations, 4,000 call agents, we have 2 million portal visits, 22 million connected calls, 40 million emails, 33 million letters, 40 million SMSs, 0.6 million field visits. All of them are customers like Ronnie. And all of them, if you heard also our employee movie, it's about our employees driving the empathical discussion to help the customers actually to become debt-free. That's what we are doing. Now, it is undeniable so that Intrum is the true market leader. Our clients, they trust in what we're doing and trusting us solving a problem for them. George will later talk about the success rate we have in new contracts and old contracts. But we know that there are disruptive local players. the world has moved on, and we have actually not really changed the way that we have been operating. And if you look at what Intrum is, it's a company that have consolidated and rolled up individual businesses over a long period of time without reflecting on the operating model, nor implementing a performance management culture to make sure that we drive and develop our offering to our customers. And don't confuse delegation of authorities and responsibilities with understanding how to drive a business in local regulatory set markets at the same time as driving economies of scale. Because at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we drive collections in an empathic way. And you have seen the numbers. We're talking about massive numbers in the interactions. And obviously, when you look at then this roll-up without integration, that has led us into a very complicated tech market, or tech geography, you can say, also a very complicated way of doing things. And eventually, if you don't work with your design, you will be caught up in it. Anders showed this picture before. 1930s paper, 1960s we started to call. But if you look at the picture today, and you start to dive into it, have we really fundamentally changed the way we are working with our customers? Yeah, there are screens, and yes, we have the papers on data, but we're still making the calls. That's still the main contact for how we reach out to the customers. So, what do we want to do then? What do we want to be? Well, we want to be the best operating platform in the business, because that's really the offering that we're giving to our clients. It's all about people, it's about processes, and it's about tech at the end of the day. Doesn't have to be more difficult than that. And simplification is the name of the game. And I'll show this picture as well, because I mean, there's a lot of noise. You sort of have to shave off the noise to understand what's really going on. At the end of the day, we have asset under management, the collection side, the revenues, and it ends up nicely in a cash EBITDA. But from an operational perspective, we need to make sure that we then have an effective way of driving home the collections, the recovery rate. We need to make sure that we set up the way we're doing it in a smart way, so the cost to collect becomes as valuable as possible. But it doesn't stand on its own feet, because obviously it's communicating buckets between commercial and operations from that perspective. So when you look at what we're doing is that, yeah, the asset under management, how we actually design our agreements with the clients, that impacts on actually how we can drive home the collections. And then when we look at how we drive home the collections, actually work with our customers, that impacts actually how we sign the contracts as well, and becoming the true partner with our clients. And what we look at what we need to do, I mean, obviously from a people perspective, we need to become tech savvy. You can never lose the control from a human perspective, but you can ask yourself, if we make, out of those 22 million calls that you have heard, 13 of them are outbound, but actually to get those 13 million connected calls, we do have a call strategy where we actually run up 254 million calls to reach to the 13 connected calls. Do we know our process? We also have the employees at the core, so it's about making sure that we have organized them in the right way, get the right people on board, and also develop ourselves so that we can run the business and get into this continuous improvement process. From a process point of view, yeah, we need to understand what are the drivers, how do we work with the drivers, what can we do locally, and what can we do together to drive down the cost. How do we automate it, or how do we use tech where it's appropriate to do it? And then how do we make sure also with the clients that we do a best onboarding in time? Because today when we look at onboarding, it's actually quite complicated. And if you look at it also, is that basically when the onboarding time to get up to a run rate in our collection rate, it's more than 1 year. That's how complicated it is sometimes. And out of those 30 million cases that we're working on, 1/3 of them, we don't even have an email address to them. And almost 2 million, we don't have any contact details at all. So then you can ask yourself, how do you actually automate something where we don't have the data? And at the end of the day, it's also to make sure then that the data we have, because there is an immense lot of data, how can we use it to become smarter in the way we're operating, still keeping the human touch on it. So there are two fundamentals that we are working with, and they're split in a little bit a different way. One of them is driving the operational scorecard, because it's again understanding what are the drivers to our EBITDA, how do we make sure that we find a way to discuss it and actually drive it, and how do we find a way to cooperate to make it better. Again, there's local legislation, yes, but that doesn't mean that you can't do things out of economies of scale and do some things together. So that's fundamental when we're trying to build the operating model and actually becoming a smaller company in a way to drive the business forward. The other one is the tech journey, where there are three elements to it. One is obviously how do we interact with our customers. The other one is how do we drive our own processes when we look into the customer communications, and also how we work with the client onboarding. And there is value at the table. We're talking about almost 1.1 billion Swedish crowns that actually could influence us from a profitability point of view if we get this right. Sounds nice on the paper, so what are we doing then? Well, one of them you've already heard about. We actually, to get the customer self-support in, we actually have invested in Offless, subject obviously to get antitrust approvals. So what it is really about, on the face of it, is driving up customer self-service. Today we have 1%, we expect a lot out of it coming out of it, but it's really looking into how can we eliminate those unproductive actions and meet the customers with empathy. Because we have customers that don't want to have a phone call. They want to be able to run it on themselves. And tech, yes, it should be huggable, to say. The least which you will see when we show the trailer later on. Is also to make sure that we have the digital penetration and use the data. And there are a lot of opportunities to drive this into an even higher pace than what we have when we look at the business case from the beginning. Again, it serves as a catalyst for us. So without further ado, what is it? So in short, what we're talking about, getting client analytics, having hyper-personalized customer interaction, driving empathy at a scale, because here we can do a lot actually to get things going much quicker. Machine learning. Obviously, security around it, and at the end of the day, an increased digital self-service. That's what we're after. But not only that, it's actually driving the tech platform even further. So we look forward to the work together with the Offless team. Another things that we're doing, it's not only with Offless, it's obviously coming back to that we need to work with our data in a much smarter way than what we're doing today. Really use it to drive down sort of the manual tasks and make us accelerate in the way we're interacting with our customers. As we talked about before, we only have less than 1%, which is basically self-service, and we have a lot of costs that we're making. Onboarding time. It's actually quite complicated. As I said, sometimes data missing, takes a long time to get it in. We need to build the systems around it, but also making sure then that we get effective in ramping up the run rate from the beginning, which is more than 1 year, and we need to get down to that to a much shorter time period. It's again coming back to the recovery rate that we're working on, because this is really what the clients are buying. So just to conclude, what are the drivers? Again, it is about people, because people build businesses. Company doesn't build businesses. It's about making sure that we have an agile and efficient delivery and people that want to be in this world. It's about making sure that we develop our people and also make them feel that they are part of the change that's going on. And that's why an actual learning program is very important. And then again, incentive structures needs to be aligned, because at the end of the day, this is also how we act as human beings. Processes, tech first, and make sure that we automate as much as we can so we can drive it in a sort of empathy with scale. Transparency on how we work across the group, because that is the only way that we're going to build best-in-class practices. Again, practices. We have 20 countries, or 17 at the end of the day. 17 different ways of working, 7 different ways that we can actually, if we get the brains going between us, this is where we can compare ourselves and become much better than we are today. And it is that continuous improvement culture we need to get into. Because at the end of the day, what we're doing in operations when we meet the customers, that's where the innovation starts. Tech, yeah, we need to have a modern self-servicing client platform, but also portals. That's going. We need to transform our contact centers. We are in the process of doing that. We need to make sure then, and you have heard part of this before, integration layers, so we can connect towards our little bit old legacy systems to get going, but also get the data management correct. Because at the end of the day, without the data, we cannot move on this empathy at the scale. So that's what it's all about. With that, Emily, I'm done.
For now.
I
might add. I'd like to ask you about this lag of digitalization as you talk about within your sector or within your business. Is that an Intrum issue or has been, or a sector issue or culture?
There are other sectors that were not very high up on the digitalization agenda. And you can look at healthcare as a great example to use as an analogy. They actually started much earlier. I think that partly that comes out of us. If you have the right people that really work with innovation, we would have been on this much earlier. So, and then I know that most of our other competitors, they are not so digitalized either. So, but I wouldn't say it's industry. It's actually how you are actually applying and getting people on board and how you drive innovation.
Because given the video that you showed and the acquisition of Othello's, we're talking AI, ChatGPT, those kind of things.
Yeah.
So how is that going to affect your business? We actually had a question from Lars asking about that, how generative, something like that, AI.
Generative AI.
Sorry. AI will affect your business, because with some sectors or industries, you say that is going to be revolutionizing. Is that the same effect on you too? We are today a very people-intensive business. Obviously, if you become a bit smarter in how you drive your processes, we will get effectiveness out of it. So yes, there will be a change if you look at the footprint. It will impact us. But I think also what people are seeing, and you've heard that from different industries as well, it is important that people are on top of the tech and not the other way around. We have seen, it's not that we're totally blank. We're doing some automative things. But as I gave you the example of the call strategy, that's a typical example where the people are not on top of the tech. We let the tech live its own life, and suddenly we are making 250 calls to get to that 12 or 13 million connected outbound calls. So yes, it will change, but it's about how you manage it. Asfan wants to know, what are the key areas within the collection value chain that technology is expected to enhance, ultimately boosting margins and efficiency? Which countries are likely to experience the most significant improvements in this regard? I think it's across the board, because it starts with actually the onboarding of the client cases, basically. But it ends, or you can say also starts with actually how we interact with the customers. And you saw the trailer that we've done. So I think it goes the whole way through the value chain. But then I'm guessing that some regions or countries have gone different steps already in this process. Because as you said, you have 41 call centers, over 10,000 employees. I mean, it's a massive transformation. Yes, it is. But in general speaking, coming back to the picture that Andres showed about 1930 to today, we have truly not, even if we are building things, we have truly not changed the way that we are interacting with the customers, nor really with the clients. That is the power that's going to happen with this. Could you give me some kind of time frame on what we're talking about? Are we talking years? Are we talking quarters? We're not talking about months. It will take longer than a month. It will take some years, yes. But it's about continuous improvement, building it into it. Because that's what will generate things further on. Because I think the biggest problem, is what I started with in the beginning, is if you don't have a continuous improvement culture, you will lose out eventually. And then you need to do that jump to curve activity again. So it's getting that in, then you can move. And is this transformation an investment, meaning you expect it to pay back later, or is it a cost reduction from day one? It is an investment, but it's also about making sure that we take the low-hanging fruit so you can get sort of certain things coming in already into the P&L earlier on. And part of the cost improvement program that we have introduced, you will already see effects during next year. But the bigger impact comes later on, yes.
Okay. Well, Annette, I'll let you go for now. You'll be back at the end too for the Q&A, of course. Let me take that one out of your hand. And that actually concludes thank you. That concludes the first part of today. So the second part is going to be servicing, investing, and financials before the Q&A. We give you 30 minutes to stretch your legs and top off your coffee. It's just outside of this room for you who are here, and you on the live stream will be back in 30 minutes. Thank you. Enjoy your break.